A bit of a heartbreaking post here in the Craigslist of Pueblo. A family of four needs home. A family of four needs a home. Today is November 16th. It's 5 in the morning, but this was posted November 13th, so 3 days ago. You have Charles. Charles has posted this post. He says, "To whom it may concern, a veteran and family are trying to find a 2 or 3 bedroom house for rent. We have 4 dogs that are emotional service animals. We are trying to stay under $900 a month. If you can help, please contact me." So they have 4 dogs for emotional service. They're a veteran and a family. They're just looking for a 2 or 3, very modest, right? And he's saying he can try to, stay under $900 a month. 719-369-7871. Time if you want to help out with Charles, a veteran and his family. If you know of a house, he wants to spend under $900. They got 4 dogs. They want a 2 or 3 bedroom place, so a veteran and family. So I'm not for sure how many people that would be. I wouldn't think it would be more than 4. They're looking for a 2 or 3 bedroom home. Give them a call, Charles, at 719-369-7871. So essentially, this is a bad housing market. He's not able to find housing, and so he's putting himself out there under free stuff. So that would mean that he's hoping that a landlord comes by and sees free stuff and then eventually contacts him. So it seems like he posted it in the wrong spot, but it just shows you their desperation. They got on Craigslist. They couldn't find any affordable housing, and so I don't know where they're living or how they're surviving, but they need a place. They posted it 3 days ago, so I hope they're still alive. Winter is upon us. Marc Emery. Super sensitive Marc Emery is a school board member for the D70. He ran unopposed. Nobody even dared challenge Marc Emery's dominance. When it comes to who controls the school, Marc Emery controls the county schools. Because in Pueblo, we got county schools and we got city schools. There's D70 and D60, and we like to, just redundant services, just have 2 of everything. And so this is the face of the county. Pueblo County is Marc Emery. Marc Emery, Pueblo County loves Marc Emery. I don't know where he's from, but maybe he's, born and raised here. So Marc Emery is the face of Pueblo County, and Brian Mader is the face of Pueblo City, right? That Ballotpedia, and they're not informative at all. They said he ran in 2013. What did he run on? What was his platform? They say nothing about the campaign whatsoever, but he did run, and he won in 2013. Then he ran again in 2017, but nobody ran against him, so they just Jill Doolin, Deborah Houghton, and Marc Emery without anybody questioning them, without anybody saying, what's your vision? What do you want to happen? What do you want to do with D70? None of the parents of D70, they're all scared of, the political clout of Jill Doolin, Marc Emery, Deborah Houghton. Perhaps they love them. Perhaps they think that they're doing a great job. I think ignorance prevented the general population. If the general population knew that this race was actually happening, there would have been more competitors. They could be progressives, but it's just interesting that Marc Emery is the face of Pueblo City, but Brian Mader is the face of, Marc Emery is the face of Emery is the face of Pueblo County, and Brian Mader is the face of Pueblo City. So Brian Mader, he's ran for a whole bunch of times in Pueblo. He can't seem to win ever. He's got a couple times when he's standing up and he's speaking and he's saying things. Here's a clip about marijuana. I'll click on it and see. He's probably opposed to marijuana, right? Because he's old school and he wants to control other people's bodies. He doesn't believe in America. I'll listen to it in a second. Here, let's listen to it.
So he's
going to look at the marijuana industry and look. He's trying to say that he's a true conservative, but Michael Stapleton says that he wants to conserve American freedoms and rights. So who's the true conservative? Is it Brian Mader? Brian Mader, the distinction, it just seems like Brian Mader is the city slicker. Look at this city slicker, right? So Brian Mader is a city slicker, while Marc Emery is a county slicker. Brian Mader, he seems like he's All-Star Roofing, Southside Fitness. He owns, successful businesses. He rents out parts of his building to the local Republican Party. He ran for city council 2013, 2015. In 2014, he ran against Dania Escar for Colorado State Representative and lost. So he would have, why didn't he run this year? He would have, it seemed like he would have been one of the front runners. But he ran 2013, lost, 2014, lost, 2015, and lost. So in 2016, he lost 4 years in a row. You would think Mater just comes across to me as stodgy. He's a four-time loser. It's actually, when it comes to politics, you do build up your base of support, but you're becoming a perennial candidate. You're becoming a habitual candidate. You're just running to be running for your own ego, for your own inflated self-worth, just so you get power. When you run, you actually have political power in terms of the narrative, in terms of what you're saying, because the city council, if you're a member of city council, your words are amplified because you're a member of government. And if you're running to be government, then that means that same sort of bully pulpit that the city council folks have is what the candidates now have. So you can make some noise. Your voice is now amplified. So Brian Mater says he's running as like a social media. He just comes across as stodgy. With the study between the county and city, he was against it. With marijuana, he seems to be a fucking controlling prick. He's all about Nixonians, war on drugs. So, and then he wants to laugh about Kenny O'Neill. He might be a nice guy, but he just rubs. Francisco Alcon was shot and killed. Francisco Alcon, 22-year-old Francisco Alcon, was shot and killed, supposedly, allegedly, by Johnny Donnell Jr., a 15-year-old. So they were part of the same gang. They were living in the same house. This is inside a home near 6th and Monument on the Lower East Side, just before 2 a.m. last week on Sunday. He turned himself in. I thought that was a dumb idea. I'm like, oh, God, who made him, turn himself in? But now that he did, I'm thinking, well, he probably would have got shot, right? So it's probably a good idea that he turned himself in. But, yeah, what the fuck? 15-year-old, 22-year-old, so it's over some, a Snickers bar, over some petty shit, over respect. He didn't look at him, properly. He looked at him in his eyes, like Duterte. President of the Philippines, Rodrigo Duterte, who's got his war on drugs, and he's just going around killing lots of people because of the war on drugs, and Duterte is a piece of shit. So when he was 16 years old, he was bragging about how he killed a man just for looking at him. They just looked at each other, and they didn't like how they looked at each other, so they just started fighting just for the fuck of it. And now he's the president of the Philippines. So if Johnny Donnell Jr. lived in the Philippines, he might become president. But he's 15 years old. His age is really, low, and I do think we should give a shit about, the criminals, but we need to give a shit about the victims first. So Francisco Alcon didn't deserve to die. Francisco Alcon was a man that believes that, you use your fist out in the street. That's what a real man does. Just shooting somebody just to gun them down. Well, actually, the PPD did that. Dave Murray, a 54-year-old Dave Murray, has been implicated in an organ trafficking network. Many organs and body parts have been gone missing from the morgue, and they're like, what the hell, what's going on? So eventually they went into this guy's house, Dave Murray, the FBI did, in Houston, in Texas, Harris County morgue. And they said there were shelves everywhere filled with hundreds of glass jars, each of them containing a penis floating in formalin. So over 3,000 dicks. This fucking guy, they found 3,178 embalmed dicks. Dave Murray, 54-year-old, was going around collecting over 3,000 dicks. He explained in great detail, been cutting off dead man's genital organs and collecting them for more than 10 years. So just for fun. Says 53 criminal charges were put upon him, but what the fuck, America? We can do a little bit better than that, right? Having some mortician collecting a bunch of dicks. Over 3,000 dicks are collected, and nobody was none the wiser. I guess you don't check it in the casket, but weird. George Collins said we're in the front row seats at the freak show. Speaking of freak shows, Roy Moore, I will say something about this because we are in a pivotal cultural moment right now. We're going to change, right? So apparently everybody it seems like they can grope anybody and everybody. I've been a victim of sexual assault, so let's stop doing that, right? So let's quit doing that, and consent is yes, right? It's not yes is consent, not no. And then another person said, if the woman takes off her clothes, then that means, go ahead. So that's fine with me. Let's go ahead and said that the Voting Rights Act is what fucked everything, this country up. The Voting Rights Act. So Alabama is backwards. Alabama is fucking bullshit, stupid. It's fucking backwards. Alabama is fucking backwards. And in some respects, that could be an opportunity because shit's fucked, so you could change it all. Or they're so entrenched and institutionalized in their backwardsness. Roy Moore, this is so, fucked up. A lot of these older women that are supporting the Republican, essentially these evangelicals would support Satan for the Republican principles. If Satan had Republican principles, they would just, so they don't have any morals, they don't have any ethics, they don't have any principles. Their Republicanism is more important than their Christianity. And that's a fucking problem because he's a 30-something-year-old DA. A 30-something-year-old DA is preying on a 14-year-old. If Satan supported the Second Amendment and pro-life, then they would go ahead and vote for Satan, right? That's really all that matters is Republican principles. It doesn't matter about Christianity or God, right? So the thing with, he's a 30-fucking-year-old, 30-fucking-year-old DA. He's a DA. He's got fucking power. He's got power, and instead of looking at his colleagues, instead of being attracted to, an adult woman for her brain and for her looks, for her body, he finds a 14-year-old attractive. He finds their brain and their bodies attractive. So Roy Moore is super fucked up. He is super fucked up, and fuck him. Fuck Roy Moore. He actually finds it sexy. Roy Moore finds a child's body sexy and a child's mind sexy. He's a 30-something-year-old DA. He's got power, he's got money, and this is, if you give him all the freedom in the world, that's where he goes. So I think there's a lot of things. With language, I think we should be careful with our language when it comes to girls versus women. People tend to say, I know boys and girls, and we all like to feel like we're just, young adolescents, but we're the adults, and so I think that's very important. It's very important. Hey, girl, no, woman, like, what do you mean? It's weird-ass to hear, a weird-ass, grown-ass man, a weird fucking creep, sit there and say that, hey, I'm going to go get some girls. I'm going to go hit on some girls. What? You don't like women? What's up with your women are cool. So Dinell, the guy who murdered Francisco Alcon on the 1400 block East 6th Street around 1:40 a.m. 1 week ago. They're going to try him as an adult. So Jeff Chostner, the 10th Judicial District Attorney's Office, is going to try Johnny Dinell Jr. as an adult. And this article, this guy Ryan Severance, is kind of sad at the end because he said, if he's not tried as an adult, we won't get the arrest affidavit, and we won't know what they know, and we won't know what's going on. And, Eric Bravo says that a clear motive has not been established yet for the shooting. That seems fucked up. Somebody knows what's going on. For them to, I hate how they play these games. So anyways, Dinell's booked in the Pueblo Youth Detention Center, and he had a trial a couple days ago. Will says, although Christianity can be a comfort to some, it can also be very damaging and repressive and an insidious form of mind control that has led to blind acceptance of serfdom, poverty, and war throughout history to this day, especially in the United States. It is used to create support for war in the Middle East. In fact, Mr. Outwill writes, Jesus may be the only fictional character in literature whose entire life story can be traced to other sources. Once those sources are all laid bare, there's simply nothing left. Let's talk about Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is the hero of heroes. Gilgamesh had a great flood. Gilgamesh was real. Wasn't he based upon, I want to say the Iraq, there's a wall, the city of Uruk. Uruk is what he was king of. Uruk, Iraq, Uruk. And then Gilgamesh was thousands years before. 2800. Gilgamesh had lived about 2,800 years before Jesus theoretically was born. Who is Gilgamesh? What is his story about? Just a little quick thing here. he had a great flood, right, just like Noah. So there's this big, great flood, something about Adam and Eve too. But the main story is you got this king, Gilgamesh, right? So he's a wild man created by the gods. No, Gilgamesh was a powerful man who was oppressing the people of Uruk. And so the gods created a wild man named Enkidu. So this big clash between Enkidu and Gilgamesh happens. And Enkidu becomes civilized through sex with a harlot. He travels to Uruk. He challenges Gilgamesh to a test of strength. Gilgamesh wins. Then they become the best of friends. They make a 6-day journey to the legendary cedar forest. All right, a lot of fun, right? You got this king, and there is a wall of Uruk. So we actually have archaeology that says that Gilgamesh existed today. The Jesus family tomb says Jesus existed, but it totally changes the narrative. So Gilgamesh wins. They become best friends, right? I like this Enkidu, a wild man created by the gods to stop an oppressive ruler. But then they fight. The oppressive ruler actually ends up beating this creation of the gods. And then they become best friends. And then old Enkidu and Gilgamesh are at last just being best friends, just like Johnny Logan and good old plucky Minoti, the ones who started the American Revolution. Johnny Logan, you know Johnny Logan. So Tycon, no, that's, anyways. So Humbaba the Terrible, they go to kill Humbaba the Terrible. So they get together, they make this journey to the cedar forest. They plan to slay Humbaba the Terrible, cut down the sacred cedar tree. They kill the bull of heaven, which the goddess Ishtar, listen to all this shit. Look at all the things were connected in one story. And so the bull of heaven was sent to punish Gilgamesh for spurning her advances. So the gods are still pissed off, right? So they punish Enkidu to death. So because of all this, right, Enkidu was supposed to take out Gilgamesh. He didn't do it. Ishtar was like trying to fuck Gilgamesh, right, trying to put her vagina juices on. And so the bull of heaven was sent to kill Gilgamesh. So that's the second thing they sent to kill Gilgamesh. And again, he was able to pacify it, this time by killing it instead of by befriending it, as he did with Enkidu. But Enkidu, right, a wild man created by the gods. After the epic distress about Enkidu's death causes Gilgamesh to undertake a long and perilous journey to discover the secret of eternal life. Holy shit, isn't that like the Iliad and the Odyssey, right? Homer going around just walking and trying to contemplate the secret of eternal life after the Battle of Troy, after the great battle, then they try to figure this out. He eventually learns, Gilgamesh does, life which you look for, you will never find. For when the gods created man, they let death be his share and life withheld in their own hands. So whatever that was supposed to mean. His fame survived until his death. His story has been translated into many languages. And so the immortal man, Ut-Napishtim, told him about the great flood. The great flood. You need to build a wall because there's this big flood coming. So his account of Siduri's advice, the immortal Ut-Napishtim, this is the Noah of Gilgamesh, who's tasked by Enki to abandon his worldly possessions and create a giant ship to be called the preserver of life. He was also tasked with bringing his wife, family, relatives, along with the craftsmen of the village, baby animals, and grains. The oncoming flood is going to wipe out all the animals and humans that were not on his ship. After 12 days on the water, Napishtim opened the hatch to his ship to look around and saw the slopes of Mount Nasser, I don't know. He rested his ship for 7 days there. On the seventh day, he sent out a dove to see if the water had receded. The dove could not find nothing, so it came back with nothing. Then he sent out a swallow, and then it found nothing. Finally, he sent out a rat. You see that the waters have receded. Then they set the animals free, make a sacrifice to the gods. They preserve the seed of man, remaining loyal, trusting of the gods. Ut-Napishtim. So Ut-Napishtim. Ishtam. So Utnapishtim and his wife were given immortality. That's what Gilgamesh was seeking, immortality. So he's like, I got to talk to Utnapishtim. He got immortality. How did he get immortality from the gods? And he's like, look, man, only I get immortality. You can't, Gilgamesh. You know, you just got to accept it. You can look for this plant. So he finds this plant at the bottom of the sea in Dilmun, which is considered to be current-day Bahrain, but a serpent steals it. So Gilgamesh doesn't get his plant. He doesn't get the secret to immortality. So death is going to happen to Gilgamesh. He is immortal. His chapter is only this big. So Ishtar loves Gilgamesh, tries to hit on Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh says, God, you've been fucking people over for years. She gets all pissed off and she goes to her dad Anu and says, you know, give me the bull of heaven. I want the bull of heaven. They said, well, if you destroy the land of Europe, the crops won't grow for years, 7 years. Have you collected enough food for the people? And she's like, of course I do. And so there's this thing where the bull of heaven goes down there, stomps on the ground, and 100 warriors of Uruk fall into it. The bull reaches Uruk, it goes on a rampage. It stomps on the ground, a huge crevice opens, and 100 warriors of Uruk fall into it. The second time it stamps its foot, another giant crevice opens up and 200 warriors fall into it. The third time it stamps its foot, then Enkidu falls into it up to the waist. He thinks fast, he jumps out of the pit, he grabs the bull by the horn. So you have the killing of the bull of heaven, right? So they grab the bull by the horns. Enkidu calls out to Gilgamesh for help. Gilgamesh stabs the bull in the neck and he kills it. Now, of course, you're going to have, what's her fucking face is going to be all shitty about it. So Ishtar is going to be real shitty about it. Now, Shamash is the sun god. Shamash. So Shamash is Gilgamesh's little personal sun god that goes around and protects Gilgamesh. So Ishtar climbs up onto the wall of Uruk. She's seriously bummed. She's like, what the fuck? And she blames Gilgamesh. You know, this is your fault. You went ahead, if you would have just fell in love with me and just been my husband, I promised you all these wealths and these riches and all these great things, but this is your fault. This is your fault. I wanted to fuck you and you wouldn't let me fuck you, and so I had to kill all these people. Right? Which, that's logical. That makes sense. Ishtar, Easter, fucking love. The main reason that I had said any of this stuff, because I was finished, but there's two more things. First of all, Gilgamesh, he started out being a serial rapist. He was the king. He was the main oppressor. So he would fuck every single woman before they got married. All the virgins was his. Like chimpanzees, like an alpha male. Gilgamesh isn't the king of kings and the hero of heroes because he actually did something heroic, but because he was a powerful man, a powerful, influential man that had these adventures and has these stories that's written down. He's the first man, the first historical man with all these adventures, this historical documentation of all these things that he did, including possibly starting Iraq. Uruk, the walls of Uruk, Iraq, perhaps. So after the bull of heaven is going around killing all the people of Uruk, and Enkidu and Gilgamesh finally kill him, so, you know, Ishtar blames Gilgamesh. Enkidu throws one of the bull's back legs. Enkidu's all pissed off because they just sent this bull and killed all these people. So Enkidu, he takes off the bull, he rips the bull's back legs off, and he throws the back legs into Ishtar's face. And then he said that he would tear her into pieces too if he was able to, but she's a god, so he's not able to. And so this is, Ishtar assembles all the women in the city who are devoted to her, leads them in the morning over the leg of the bull. Nah, this isn't about the leg of the bull. So essentially this is just, hey, how dare you? I'm allowed to send bull to go kill you. You must fuck me. If I want to have sex with you, you must have sex with me, right? So essentially Gilgamesh is a serial rapist piece of shit. But then Ishtar seems to be a rapist piece of shit too. So what the fuck is going on? All these damn oppressors. But they kill Enkidu because he insulted her. He threw the hind legs in her face and then said he'd rip her to pieces. God in Gilgamesh's main go-to god is Shamash. So Shamash. It must be nice to have a personal god, right? Shamash, the sun god, hangs around to help Gilgamesh and Enkidu whenever they want to. So Gilgamesh and Enkidu. There's some talk about them having an erotic relationship, which who knows if that's the case. And then they want to kill Humbaba quickly before Shamash knows it. So Enkidu's like, Gilgamesh, you got to kill Humbaba quickly before Shamash hears about it. And then later on, they got the bull of heaven. They got to throw the legs. They throw the legs in Ishtar's face, and she's like, hey, you can't throw, I'm allowed to send a bull to kill 300 men. That's okay, right? Why would the women follow Ishtar? She kills 300 men like they wouldn't shit just because Gilgamesh wouldn't marry her, and she's a bad, girlfriend. She leaves her lovers in one of her husband, Tammuz, the shepherd. So Tammuz, the shepherd, became a captive in the underwood and is mourned in festivals every year. That's one of her old lovers. So Ishtar is not a good lover. She leaves them in shambles. Their fate, she could give a fuck less about them. So she's in love with Gilgamesh because he's got all these wealth and riches, and he pulls his hair back and he looks so wonderful. So it's the power and the riches and the wealth, and because she wants to fuck him. She has lust, right? Apparently women have lust too. I didn't know that. That's a shocker, right? Wait, women want to fuck other people? They look at a man, or I want to fuck him. Really interesting. So it's possible that a Spalding University professor had rubbed her hands all over my legs. So another shepherd she loved became a broken-winged bird. She loved the lion, ensured he was captured in Ishtar loved the stallion, but contrived harnesses and whips and spurs to control him. A goat herder loved her. She turned him into a wolf. When her father's gardener rejected her advances, she turned him into a frog. And so it doesn't matter whether you love her or don't love her. All the fates of anybody that comes across Ishtar is just fucked, right? So Ishtar, she's like mad. She goes to her father, Father, Anu, please. Antum and Anu. So Ishtar's father is Anu and Antum. Ishtar is Easter, and I think it's the goddess of love, which would make her like Venus, right? So Ishtar's like, let me use the bull of heaven and kill a bunch of these warriors of Gilgamesh who had nothing to do with my conversation with him. And so, goddamn, talk about Harvey Weinstein. That would be like, Harvey Weinstein saying, you must have sex with me. When they say no, then he just kills everybody on set. And then people are supposed to feel it keeps on getting worse and worse. So Ishtar raps. So she doesn't mind murder, right? It's the worst crime ever. So if you could fucking murder a man and you don't even think twice about it, you're fucked up. Your immorality is what you're negative. Anyways, so Ishtar erupts into a full-blown tantrum. He's like, no, I want the bull to gore Gilgamesh to death. He deserves to die. I want to fuck him. He said no. He deserves to die. Her father does not understand her anger since all Gilgamesh said was true. Ishtar erupts into a full-blown tantrum. She threatens to let all the dead people out of the underworld so they can feast on the living unless her parents give her the bull. And Nu hesitates. He warns that the bull will cause 7 years of famine. Ishtar assures him she's made provisions for the people and the flocks of Uruk. Oh yeah, Ishtar cares so much. It has nothing to do with just wanting to fuck. It's just about her lust, right? It's just about her jollies. It's just about her getting her fucking dick off, her fucking clit. The first time, 100 warriors go down. The second time, 200 warriors go down, right? You got this bull of heaven that just slams on the ground and this big crack opens up. And so now after 200, 300 of Uruk's men, of Gilgamesh's men, have already died. Enkidu, the third time the bull tries to do another crack and kill more, he fights him. He attacks the bull. The bull of heaven spits on Enkidu and it shits on Enkidu. But Enkidu grabs it by its horns and he wrestles with it. He calls out to Gilgamesh, who joins him, and they fight the bull together. And then Enkidu seizes its filthy tail and he holds the monster still so that Gilgamesh can thrust his shoulder in between its shoulders and kill it. Then they cut out its heart and they offer it as a sacrifice to Shamash, the sun god. Ishtar climbs onto the walls of the city and shouts curses. And Enkidu picks up one of the bull's bloody haunches and he hurls it at her. And he shouts, if you come any closer, I'll do the same to you. Ishtar and her followers, the temple prostitutes, mourn the bull. Oh, this bull of heaven was going around killing a bunch of men so Ishtar could fuck Gilgamesh. I guess Gilgamesh was a rapist. So I guess he deserved to be raped himself. So I can't say Gilgamesh is any better than Ishtar, but Ishtar and Gilgamesh, what? These two fucking people, man. Oh, jeez. So Ishtar and her followers, the temple prostitutes, mourn the bull. Gilgamesh gathers his craftsmen together and shows them how beautifully the gods had made the creature, how thickly its horns were coated with lapis lazuli. Gilgamesh cuts them off its head and fills them with oil, which he offers in sacrifice to his father, Lugulbanda. Price must be paid, however, for the destruction of Humbaba and the bull of heaven, and for the humiliation of Ishtar and the old religion. The two heroes, after all, have defied the gods and created a new independence for humans. In some sense, they have gone too far, which is always the initial appearance of extending psychological boundaries and developing a new consciousness. So this is Enkidu. He taunts Ishtar. How dare he taunt her? She's allowed to come and kill hundreds of men, but he can't taunt her or disrespect her or throw, the bull that was sent to murder a bunch of people, the gory bull, he can't throw a piece of that bull into her face. And because of the independence of the humans, they were independent. They were independent. They could do as they please. And that really is the biggest crime of all. The disrespect and them having no control over the America. Why do we have the problems that we have? The privileged white males of the world who think that their shit don't stink, who can accept the status quo when it needs to change. It needs to change.